Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are starting our next session this afternoon in the Democratic Resilience track. And I must say, I'm extremely honored to introduce the speakers, to introduce our distinguished guests. And I must say, my heart is happy that I can do this. Ladies and gentlemen, this session, we'll have a conversation about our dear, dear friends, the Belarusian people, and their leaders who are here with us. And I must say, for the first time, they're here together. Ladies and gentlemen, please, an enormous, huge, big round of applause for Her Excellency Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya and Siarhei Tsikhanouski. Please join us. The conversation will be moderated by a dear friend of the Warsaw Security Forum, an icon of European and transatlantic politics, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense, Ambassador to NATO, Ambassador to Sweden, and I'm sure I forgot some things, but Linas, it's such a pleasure to have you with us, and of course, Lithuania and Belarus. But all happiness aside, that Siarhei is with us, and it is extremely important. We're very happy. The question of the future of Belarus and the relation with Europe is a key one, and I look forward to the conversation. Linas, the floor is yours. Again, a great honor. Please.
Good evening, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure and honor. I know Sviatlana for some time already. I didn't know Siarhei. It's good to meet you. Looks like family panel. But it's about democracy, it's about resilience, it's about freedom fight, definitely. And we have not so much time, so we'll stop here for these introductory remarks, just going straight to some questions. And first I decided to ask Siarhei. You know, it's easy to ask, it's impossible to understand and conceive, because more than 5 years in isolation, talking to nobody. When left your daughter, she was 4 years old. You ended up with half size, half weight. That is just physical, also emotional. What was something what helped you stay firm? What helped you to remain as you are? And did you know in what situation is Sviatlana? Because she took over and she became a star in world politics. She did it so well, but it was not something she was striving for, never trained for that, never prepared, never tried, but she was forced and did it so well. What fragments of what I'm saying was known to you? And first question, don't forget just to reflect, what helped you to stay and to remain and to survive?
Спасибо. Это очень длинный был вопрос. Если я потеряю мысль, то вы мне тогда напомните.
Sorry, this was a really long question, so if I kind of lose the point, I'm sorry.
Действительно, мне помогла моя вера, я христианин.
Honestly, the one thing that really helped me was Christianity and my faith.
И хоть все время в заключении тюремщики мне говорили, что тебя забыли, и никто о тебе не помнит.
And even though the guards continued to say that everyone forgot about you, no one cares.
Они увеличивали мне срок тюремного заключения и говорили, что ты сдохнешь в тюрьме.
They constantly increased my time in prison and said that you will die in prison.
Но я знал, что моя супруга борется за меня, и я знал, что мои сторонники меня не забыли.
But I knew that my spouse is fighting for me, and that my friends, my colleagues are with me.
И я бесконечно благодарен своей супруге за это и буду благодарить ее до конца своих дней.
And I'm infinitely grateful to my spouse, and will be saying thank you to her till the end of time.
Действительно, когда меня посадили в тюрьму, моей дочери было 4 года.
It is true that my daughter was 4 years old when I was imprisoned.
И сейчас, когда я вышел на свободу, ей было 9 лет, и большую часть своей жизни она меня не видела.
And now, once I'm freed, she was already 9 years old, and more than half of her life, she didn't know me or see me.
Она помнит, что ее отец был такой большой, высокий, крупный мужчина с бородой.
She remembers her dad being this big, chubby, with a beard, tall man.
И когда она меня увидела, худого, похудевшего наполовину в тюрьме и без бороды, она меня не узнала.
And when she saw me all skinny and without a beard, weighing half of what I used to weigh, she didn't recognize me.
И только когда Светлана сказала, что это твой отец, через минуту, наверное, после долгой паузы, она со слезами бросилась мне на шею.
And only after Sviatlana told her that this is her dad, after a minute, she jumped into my arms crying.
И я, когда вспоминаю этот момент, у меня постоянно текут слезы. Вот я с трудом сейчас даже сдерживаю себя.
And every time I remember this moment, I always want to cry, and it's really hard for me to hold my tears back right now.
Great, thank you. And again, question maybe starting with you, but also I'd like Sviatlana to join. We all were watching and seeing what's happening in Belarus. I personally also was shocked in a positive way. A country which was, no one expected that something will come up, something will happen. And suddenly it happened, and crowds in the streets, in the squares, 100,000 or something in Minsk, not only in Minsk, in all the country. It's such a big power, and was feeling that something must happen. So what was the reason that nothing happened? What's your reading? What's your explanation? And what I'd like to ask both of you, maybe Sergei will start, or Sviatlana, I don't know who will. Maybe Sergei, maybe you can say first and then Sviatlana.
Я думаю, что в 2020 году в Минске у Европы был шанс избежать войны в Украине.
I believe that back in 2020, Europe had a chance to avoid the Ukraine war altogether in Minsk.
В то время как Москва поддержала диктатора, Европа ничего не делала и просто сочувствовала нам.
Because back when Putin supported the dictator, Europe sat and did nothing.
У Европы не было никакой четкой стратегии по Беларуси.
Europe never had a clear strategy.
Знаете, сколько стоили вчерашние выборы? Сколько в Молдове, сколько потратила Москва на это? Говорят, что около $300 миллионов.
Do you know how much it cost Russia yesterday in the Moldovan election? They say it was about 300 million.
Вы знаете, сколько потратила Польша на забор между Беларусью и Польшей?
Do you know how much Poland spent on the wall between Belarus and Poland?
Наверное, около $500 миллионов.
Somewhere around $500 million.
Вы знаете, сколько потратит Европейский Союз в ближайшие годы на то, чтобы перевооружиться, ожидая вторжения?
Sorry, do you know how long it would take, how much it would cost Europe to rearm itself in the next coming 4 years?
Я думаю, что около $1 триллиона.
I think it will be around $1 trillion.
А теперь спросите меня, сколько бы стоила смена власти в Беларуси в 2020 году?
And now ask me how much it would have cost to have a different government in Belarus back in 2020.
Я думаю, что $50 миллионов.
I think it would cost $50 million.
Чиновники и силовики были готовы стать на сторону народа, но когда Москва поддержала Лукашенко, они сделали шаг назад.
Politicians and the military were willing to support the nation, but when Russia did their step forward, the parliament did their step back.
Европа тогда ничего не сделала, не стала игроком, и она просто выражала сочувствие.
Europe didn't do anything. They weren't a player. They only said their condolences.
И это тот урок, который мы должны вынести.
And it is that lesson that we must learn.
Well, thank you. Actually, my question was not about how much that would cost, but it was a question why was not victory of the people. That was the question, and you provided your view. It's okay. We could discuss, all of us, what Europe did, what didn't do, but actually what Europe could do to change the regime. Also, so my now question to Sviatlana, what's your reading? Why these crowd of people, why all this power of people didn't succeed? What was missing? And also, if you think what was missing from a European position?
Dear Linas, friend of Belarus, maybe it was lost battle, but it's not lost of our war or fight against regime. Because in 2020, of course, the regime managed to suppress Belarusians by brutality, by tortures. We all saw this unleashed terror against Belarusian people, and of course, support of Russia, what Sergei was talking about. He definitely said the words of support to Lukashenko. But again, we are not buried under these repressions. I can't say that it was our loss at all, because for 5 years in a row, we only strengthened the Belarusian nation, Belarusian democratic movement. Yes, we have to work from exile, many of us, but still majority stay in Belarus. They continue their fight undergroundly. When the war in Ukraine has started in 2022, who knew about Belarusian partisans? But they emerged. And we have many small groups of people who are making acts of sabotage. We have people inside the country who are leaking us information from the very, ups who are around Lukashenko, how sanctions are circumvented, or how regime is earning money on the blood of Ukrainians through militarization of our economy. We have a vibrant civil society working from exile. We have wonderful, fantastic media, yes, working from exile, human rights defenders, so on and so forth. But we cannot say that we are not effective in this fight. Because were Lithuanians not effective while Russian occupation? You also were in exile. The same about Poland. But when the moment came, you were prepared. You had system. You had network of people around you, and just we need to catch the next moment of opportunity. Now we are weakening the regime, strengthening the people, and of course mobilizing solidarity, support, assistance of democratic world. Just when the moment comes, as he said, Europe, the USA, Canada, UK will have this joint free West, will have strategy on Belarus. Because now, new context, the war is going on in Ukraine, and we understand strategic importance of Belarus on security reasons. Because while Lukashenko is there, it will be constant provocations, constant deployment of nuclear weapon, drills, migration issues. Until he's there, it will happen again and again. And that's why it's in the interest not only of Belarusian nation, but also in the interest of our Western partners, to help Belarusians achieve independence and freedom from Lukashenko's regime. And I'm so grateful to Lithuania, brave Lithuania, to Poland for standing strong with us all these years. I understand how much you also sacrifice, to our fight, but, only friend democratic Belarus can be reliable partner, but not source of the constant threats. And for Ukrainians, of course, friend democratic Belarus will not be launching pad for possible attacks, future attacks from Ukraine. So let's think about Belarus not only from humanitarian point of view, because repressions are going on, continue until now, people are detained every day, and thousands of political prisoners, but it's also important from political and security point of view.
Thank you. Конечно.
Да, я присоединяюсь к словам Светланы, и я тоже благодарен Европейскому Союзу и Соединенным Штатам Америки и партнерам.
I'm going to join Sviatlana in this. I'm also very grateful to our Western partners, to Europe and the US.
И если бы не помощь белорусам, которую вы оказываете, то белорусам просто негде было бы спастись.
And if not for your help for the Belarusian people would not have a safe haven anywhere.
Но в следующий раз, когда созреет белорусская революция, Вы должны стать игроком. Не только Путин должен играть.
And next time, when there will be a spark in the Belarusian revolution, you, Europe, must become a player, just like Putin is.
Yeah, thanks. Soon I would like to engage audience, of course, and maybe you will be ready to ask some questions, but one more, starting to answering by Sviatlana, and also Sergei will join. So what next? Are we waiting now for regime change in Moscow? Are we waiting and continuing to helping you to spread the news about new Belarus, which depends to Europe not only geographically, but by other means? So showing that people willing to change regime and ready and preparing, or by the way, also it's related what we see U.S. administration now trying to get closer to official regime, to reopen embassy, and some nice wording addressing former president, I would say. I still believe he is former president and nothing will change this situation. But he's treated as normal by some, unfortunately also by US. So how you would explain this? So what we should do all together, and also what you should do, and maybe some recommendations for EU, as Sergei said, to be a player in this game.
So for sure, we don't have to look on Russia constantly. Because we got used to always just think, what will Russia say? What will Russia think? And this approach sometimes paralyzes. I don't think that changes in Belarus, will start from changes in Russia. Of course, it's one of the scenarios, but I'm more than sure that changes in Russia will start from changes in Belarus, because Belarus is more prepared for democratic changes. Our society is more consolidated, pro-European. We don't have to persuade Belarusians, to have this pro-European side. So that's why what we have to do is to continue to keep together, continue work and behave with principality and with all our strength. Because, this sometimes undecisiveness is perceived as weakness by dictators, and they see that, Europe sometimes is hesitating, to recognize or not recognize, to invite, not to invite. But in the last 5 years, so many unprecedented steps have been done to formalize relationship with Belarusian democratic forces, to continue this policy of non-legitimization even after, new so-called elections. And the recent closure of Polish-Belarusian border, it was a very bold step, and the Belarusian regime didn't expect that it might happen. But Poland showed, it was a clear signal to the regime that we can do this again. You have to stop migration crisis, you have to release Andrzej Poczobut and other political prisoners, and we even involved China in this dialogue. And China actually played creative, constructive role here. So that's why don't give up. I understand, this feeling of fatigue about Ukraine, about Belarus, new crises appear everywhere. But did Lithuanians believe in your victory? You did. Did Polish Solidarność believe that you will succeed in your fight? Yes, you did. You just did everything possible just to bring this moment closer. The same about us. We have to weaken the regime of Lukashenko through sanctions, through secondary sanctions, political isolation, policy of non-recognition, and strengthen people. Believe me, we are using all our possible instruments to keep ties with people on the ground, to build relationship within Belarusian diasporas. We have network of volunteers all over the world. We have to strengthen it, to show alternative to Belarusian people, to show alternative to Russian wall, to Ruski Mir. We already showing Belarusian people what how Belarus will look like after Lukashenko era, because he's lame duck, his time is outgoing, he's not immortal. But we have to show Belarusians what we can gain for this movement to European family of countries, new investments, freedoms, human rights, so on and so forth. Of course, we don't have to let this regime propaganda to poison the minds, to brainwash people. So that's why we have to be vocal. People need to hear not only from Belarusian democratic forces, but also from our European partners that, guys, you are welcomed here. We are waiting for you. Just one more strong step, and you will be part of our family. This is what Belarusians need to hear. That in the critical moment, we will not be alone. That will not leave us one-to-one with Russia. Because, fight for Belarus, of course, it's our obligation, but we cannot do this alone. We cannot propose anything at the moment. We are people without state. Our state is seized, and our power is in bravery of Belarusians and in unity and bravery of our allies.
Sergei.
Свободная Беларусь также неизбежна, как и смена политического режима в Москве.
The freedom of Belarus is inescapable, just like the change of the regime in Moscow.
Вопрос когда?
The question is when.
К сожалению, все указывает на то, что это будет не быстро.
The sad part is that everything shows that it's not going to be fast.
И не потому, что этого не хочет белорусский народ,
And not because the Belarusian people do not want it,
а потому что при нашем географическом положении нам не сделать это самим без помощи наших союзников.
but because of our geographical position, we cannot do it without our allies.
А что у нас с союзниками?
So what do we have with our allies?
Американцы верят, что смогут разделить Москву и Пекин.
So the Americans believe they can separate Moscow and Beijing.
Пока это заблуждение в силе, они нам могут помочь только с освобождением заложников.
As long as this illusion holds strong, all they can do is help us with the political prisoners.
Европа, простите меня за откровенность, не субъектна.
Europe, sadly for my subjectivity, cannot take any actions.
Она не может по-настоящему помочь даже Украине, и что уже говорить о Беларуси.
It cannot realistically help Ukraine, and what can we talk about Belarus?
Поэтому все, что вы можете сейчас сделать, это помочь нам освободить 1300 политических заключенных, которые умирают в тюрьмах Беларуси.
And what you can really do now, how you can really help, is to free those 1,300 political prisoners under the dictatorship.
На их реабилитацию, восстановление на первое время нужны средства и немалые средства.
For their rehabilitation, getting them up on their feet and having them do their first steps and take them in, they will need funds.
Режим не просто собирается освободить их в обмен на смягчение санкций, он хочет выбросить их за границу, так же вот как недавно выбросил меня с мешком на голове и в наручниках.
They do not want to just do a prisoner exchange in exchange for lessening sanctions. They want to throw them out of the country like they did recently with me.
И он выбросит их вместе с их семьями.
And he will throw them out with their families.
И всем этим людям нужна будет помощь.
And all these people will need help.
Вот то, что можно сделать прямо сейчас, это подумать все вместе, как мы можем помочь этим людям.
What we can all do now, how we can really help, is think about how we can help these people.
И я согласен со Светланой, что, конечно, освобождать людей нужно, но мы не должны забывать, что нужно прекратить именно репрессии, иначе, освобождая одних, за решеткой будут оказываться другие.
Of course, I agree with Sviatlana, but we need to focus on the repression and how we can really solve this issue so their places are not taken up by other people.
But still, to release, definitely, it's important. But how? And what we should do? Because Lukashenko uses prisoners as a hard currency for trade-off, basically. And the one way to lift sanctions, maybe he release again some, 100, and then will arrest 200, and then again wait for something. It's one way to go, or you would have some other suggestion what could be done, because to release, everybody would like to support this, of course, it's important. Every life which is saved is important, and any victim is too many. But how? What would be your suggestion? No, from both. He will agree with you, of course.
Minister Ambassador, you're of course absolutely right. Just to stop these repressions and to bring to Belarus irreversible and systematic changes, of course, it's only release of political prisoners is not enough. Of course, saving lives of people is our priority, and we are so grateful to President Trump, diplomatic efforts, and General Kellogg, John Cole, Chris Smith for releasing of our hostages out of prison. But as you say correctly, it's like revolving door. While some are being so-called released or forcefully deported, the others 2-3 times more are entering the prison. So until we stop repressions, Lukashenko will take more and more people as bargaining chip. And of course, President Trump can play a really constructive role and release huge amount of people. But we need strong and principled position of Europe, first of all, to use your instruments, your cards you have in your hands to make this regime to change its behavior and to bring Belarus to free and fair elections. This is our aim. So now President Trump is like peacemaker. Belarus really can be a success story for him, but we need Belarus to be a success story for all European family of countries, and for this we need to dismantle this regime, get Belarus out of the war, get Belarus out of Russia's claws. So this is our aim. But of course, while we have this momentum to release people, we have to do everything possible to do this.
Sergei?
Я согласен со Светланой, я единственное немножко добавлю.
I totally agree with Sviatlana, but I wanted to add one more thing as well.
Санкции работают, и то, что сейчас люди выходят на свободу, это результат этого давления, результат санкций.
Sanctions do work, and the fact that there's people being freed is the example of how sanctions work and how they do have positive results.
Я благодарен президенту Трампу и американской дипломатии за освобождение наших политзаключенных и меня лично.
I am really thankful to President Trump and the U.S. administration for freeing political prisoners, and me inclusive.
И я приветствую инициативу по освобождению всех политических заключенных в Беларуси.
I am highly open towards the freeing of all political prisoners in Belarus.
И я предлагаю расценивать это всего лишь как первый шаг на пути к переменам. Освобождение людей, которые могут умереть в тюрьме.
And I suggest to look at this as just the first step of all the people who could die in prison.
Если бы меня не освободили, еще 15 лет, которые мне оставались, я бы не смог выдержать.
If I wasn't freed, the other 15 years that I had left, I would not be able to survive.
И другие люди находятся в такой же ситуации сейчас, прямо сейчас там, в тюрьме.
And there's other people who are in those situations in Belarus right now, imprisoned.
Совсем недавно еще один политзаключенный умер в тюрьме.
Just recently, there was another political prisoner who just died.
Поэтому первое – это освобождение политзаключенных.
So the first step is freeing all the political prisoners.
И второе – это уже действие по прекращению репрессий.
And then the second action is the ending of the repression.
И это не такой вопрос, чтобы за несколько минут мы смогли на него ответить. Это очень сложный вопрос.
This is not a question we can answer in a couple of minutes. This is really is a complicated question.
Seems as impossible in half an hour to talk about that. Maybe somebody will have some question, but not to everyone. Please introduce yourself and short question, because unfortunately time is running. So,
my name is Alexei Minchanak. I'm Zerkalo, independent Belarusian media outlet journalist. I would like to ask about Sergei's involvement in Svetlana's office affair. Of course, you're a family, but in politics, are you now one team or two separate teams with different goals?
So when Sergei was forcefully deported, he immediately said that he is not undermining leadership of Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, that he is not competent, that he just complimenting my work. Of course, he spent 5 years in isolation. Of course, he's still looking for his place in this new context, but I think that we have to give some more time, to Siarhei for him to realize where he really wants to work, how. But for sure, he became very important and loud voice of Belarusian people, and his release was boost of energy to Belarusian democratic movement.
Great. One more question. Yes, lady.
Thank you. Uliana Bahtizina, former political detainee of the regime. I had a question regarding the 1,300 political prisoners that are said rumored to be released in the future. So from the recent releases of political prisoners, we've learned that a lot of people were stuck on the border without documents, without passports, and when they got to countries like Lithuania, a lot of the responsibility fell on the shoulders of civil society and the Belarusian diaspora. What lessons can we learn from those releases for the future in case if 1,300 political prisoners were to be released?
Of course, we are in constant communication with our American partners. We say about the problems that arise with the release of forced deportation of Belarusians. First of all, is that Belarusians, if they are released or pardoned, they have to have choice either to stay in Belarus or leave the country. It's about freedom. The second one is that the regime deprives many people of documents, and people are forced to another country stateless. And here I once again want to underline our gratitude to Lithuania that took this burden on its shoulders and accept all these people on their land and doing fantastic job, giving refuge to people. So of course, if there will be more released people, I hope that other countries will also, jump into these efforts, to secure with documents, with legalization. It shouldn't be only a Lithuanian issue; it's like European ones. And also, of course, we as a movement, we have to take care of all those who are released. And of course, it needs resources. We have volunteers, we have institutions that can provide this assistance to Belarusians, but maybe a lack of technical resources, and that's why it's so timely. We together with Norway, we launched the International Humanitarian Fund, which now is helping us to provide people with some financial support, psychological support, and actually we ask the rest, free world to contribute into this fund, because if it will be hundreds or thousands of political prisoners released, it will be a disaster. And we also working with the Red Cross, how they can help in this situation. So we are working hard to make sure that release of our people will go smooth. If they are forced, hopefully, after some communication with the American side regime, will understand that they don't have to force people out of the country. So we are working on all these questions. But again, we cannot do this alone. We need support of countries, but also institutions that were created specifically for this aims. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, as you can see, time is over. But the freedom fight is not over by far. We have to continue, all of us. And now, a round of applause to these wonderful people. And Живе Belarus!
Ladies and gentlemen, also a round of applause for the moderator, please. And please, can we have the room stand in ovation for a true hero for democracy? Thank you. You always have friends here, please remember. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly at 4:30, we will have an incredibly interesting speech. You can check of whom, with a special guest from Taiwan. And this speech will be followed by a conversation about China, about supply chains, with a truly fabulous set of speakers. So I hope we'll welcome everybody back here in half an hour at 4:30. Thank you very much.